And then when I hit my teens, I played in a heavy metal band for a little minute.
You got fired from a heavy metal band. Is this true?
Yeah.
For playing country music?
Yeah.
What's that story?
Yeah. Joined this band called Fractured Mirror.
Yeah. Great name. How are you?
Great, Tom. Good
nice to see
be with you again.
Thanks for being here.
It's always good to talk to musicians.
Well, even sea level, buddy.
Musicians.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a big difference.
I guess I've seen you play guitar. I don't know if we're talking the same language. How did it go last night? You played the horseshoe.
It's fun. Yeah. We have I'm in between a typical band structure right now, where I haven't put together a band for the tour yet.
Oh.
I dismantled the band I had, and I'm rebuilding a new one, but I haven't built it yet. And we had a club show that came before I had a chance to build my band. So we had a fill-in drummer last night, and my keyboard player played bass, kind of like, the Doors, right? We didn't have a bass player.
Really?
No.
You had the left hand of the keyboard?
Yeah. But I had to keep reminding him to go for it, because we'd be playing a song, and I'm like, where's the low end? And I realized the keyboard player's just forgotten he's got to play bass too.
Would you have another guitar player, or were you?
No. I had so I had my piano player, Pete Kuzma, was there. A guy called Mike Gonzalez filled in on drums.
Yeah.
And Maggie Bogg, who's been with my band a little bit of this year, doing the duets with me, and she plays a little bit as well, mando, fiddle, guitar. And that was pretty much the band.
Did you have to do a little more guitar work than you're used to doing? Like a little more?
Yeah, I just back to my three-piece days.
Yeah.
Which I love. Coming from a three-piece band.
I mean, that must have been like how you were playing when you first started. Probably small bars and small clubs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, that's a lot of doing these club dates, like the Horseshoe, is just reminding myself what to do in those places where there's no production, nothing.
Help us understand that. Those of us who haven't played arenas, help us understand that. So like when you play an arena, there's tracks and there's videos and there's probably almost more like a Broadway show.
Yeah.
And then when you go to a club, what is it?
Well, it's do or die, in the sense of you can either play and entertain, or you're just going to die. There's nowhere to hide. And we had some track support last night because of the skeletal band. So some songs had this karaoke kind of vibe happening to them, And then others were just pure me on guitar, drums, and instruments. I mean, what you saw is what you heard. But I love that because it just reminds me to make sure the bones are good in everything, in the songs and in the band and in my playing. Make sure the bones are good and that I'm not leaning on other things.
Right. If you can play it in a three-piece band, in a club, in a bar with beer pouring, if the songs are good there, they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like mixing a song in your car.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah. If your song sounds good in your car, then it's fine.
Totally.
Yeah. Can we play one of those songs on this record that made me think about that?
We do one last cheers and down our beers and they tell us that we can't stay here. Oh, I know that it's cruising time and I won't lie, yes, I have more than a few. And you know I shouldn't be driving. I think I should probably go home with you.
It's Keith Urban featuring Lainey Wilson with Go Home With You from his new album High. This song feels like a callback to those days in Australia, playing on the small bars on the road, shutting down the bars. Am I onto something there?
Totally, yeah.
Where did that come from?
Something about playing in cover bands like I did. I quit school at 15 and I was playing in cover bands 5 nights a week at 15. My mom and dad would drive me to the gigs and I'd play 4 hours, all covers, no originals. And from doing that for years and years, I mean, all the way up until my 20s, really gave me a good understanding of songs that connect and why they connect and why audiences like to sing with certain things, what works in those environments.
Little Steven from the E Street Band said one time that like the reason that the E Street Band worked out so well is because Bruce had put like 10 years in Asbury Park playing covers.
That's right.
Finding out what worked.
Yeah, exactly.
So once you start, like when it came time to write your own songs, you kind of knew what a song needed to have.
I had a good start, knowing what to do and how to do it are very different things.
What kind of covers were you playing?
Oh, whatever was top 40 at the time, and classic stuff. I mean, it's no different. I mean, you got to throw in Sweet Home Alabama and all the Aussie versions of that. Like, I'm sure there's Canadian versions like that too.
Yeah.
Tom Cochrane's song or whatever you got to throw in that you know is going to kill it.
Yeah.
What other songs would kill it in the cover bands here?
Home for a Rest by Spirit of the West.
There you go.
Life is a Highway would do well.
Yeah.
And of course, Wagon Wheel.
There you go.
But that does well everywhere.
yeah. Any version, right?
Though I think there's bars that don't allow it now. I think there's bars that ban Wagon Wheel because it gets played.
Sacre bleu.
Get out of here, for God's sake. I heard you say something that I was curious about, that when you're playing Australian pub rock and roll, there's because I'm curious about those days. I love hearing about big artists who started in bars, that there's like a punk spirit to Australian pub rock. What does that mean?
It's just working class, and Aussie pub rock and roll, which is a real particular thing, is a real fusion of sort of blues, a little bit of punk in its absolute middle finger attitude, because that's what the audience have. They have this like, I'm going to kill you if you don't just nail this on stage. Like, don't be half-assed. And the audience tells you that if you suck, they let you know, like, no problem at all. And so you just get this really tough way of performing that is just total conviction and totally in, and the audience then goes with it. It's like you either lead or you get crushed.
Did you ever get crushed?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Really?
Of course. Yeah, people throwing shit or telling me to F off. Or
no, really?
A guy standing in front of the stage with his fingers in his ears for an entire song, and whatever. It is what it is, right? You just roll with it. And it toughens you up, but it's a good way to grow up, because it was good for me, at least, because if I played a show and maybe did a bunch of covers and then slipped it on originally or no, I remember doing a show and this guy came up afterwards. He goes, "Hey, that third song you did, what was that?" And I go, "Oh, that was one of mine." He goes, "Yeah, that's shit. Don't ever play that again. Terrible." And he goes, "But there was one you did at the beginning of that second set. What was that one?" And I said, "I wrote that one too." He goes, "That one's better. Don't do that first one, but do that second one." And I went, "Okay."
Geez, they're honest there, aren't they?
But that brutal honesty, and it goes both ways. If they like you, they absolutely tell you that. And if you suck, you suck. So when I got to Nashville and everybody was like, fantastic, fantastic, I thought they meant it. And they didn't mean it at all.
That's very funny.
They didn't mean it at all. So I literally think I spent the first several years totally confused with why everyone seemed to like what I was doing, but nothing was happening. And then I realized, they didn't actually like what I was doing.
They were lying to you. Yeah,
I didn't have any reference for that.
I know the story about country music a little bit with you, but what I find curious is that these are not the artists that people typically tell me they use to get into country music. Like the names that keep on coming up was Glen Campbell and Don Williams. Yeah. These are the artists. What did you like about these? I mean, I love them too.
Yeah, my dad just had those records. So those were the ones I heard more than anything else. Were, Don Williams, Merle Haggard, Charlie Pride, Glen Campbell. Don Williams mostly. He was like king in our house. As George Strait might be in someone else's house, Don Williams was king in our house.
The Gentle Giant.
Yeah. My dad had every album Don ever made. And matter of fact, one day we got in the car, my dad and I, we're driving to the record store. I said, well, what are we doing? And Dad goes, we're going to go get the new Don Williams album. It comes out today. I don't remember how young I was. But old enough to be clocking what he was saying. And I said to him, is there a single or something off it? And he goes, no. And I go, what song have you heard off it? He goes, I haven't heard anything off it. And I said, well, how do you know it's going to be good? And he looks at me and goes, it's Don Williams. Of course it's going to be good. I get chills thinking about it right now because I remember thinking, oh my God, I'd love to be an artist that people thought that about me. That would be the ultimate goal for a fan like my dad to go, well, of course it's going to be good. It's Don Williams.
To be so bought in on you as an artist that they'll follow you wherever you go. It doesn't matter what the song is. They don't need to test it.
No, that was like the highest benchmark for me to try and get to.
Did you meet Don while he was still alive?
I did, and we got to do a duet together and shoot a video.
Oh, that's
we
cool.
shot a video, and he must have been in his 70s then.
Yeah.
Because he came up in the 70s, 80s. So different time of doing those sorts of videos and everything. We start filming the song. I'm sitting next to him, and he's doing the miming and the whole bit. Whatever. The camera's rolling around. We finish the song, top to bottom.
Yeah.
He goes, well, all right. And he gets up and starts packing his stuff up. And the director goes, Don, that's just one pass. We got to shoot again. And he goes, what for? And he looked at me, he goes, I got it right. Keith, you get it right? I said, I did. He goes, we got it right. And he's looking at the director like, what happened? And he goes, well, no, but we need other...
Shoot it from another
angle. We need other angles.
Yeah.
So he sort of sits down and he goes, all right. And I look over at him and say, hey, Don, how many videos you done? He goes, including this one, 2.
Oh. And the other one he did was in 1978 with a locked-off camera on him. Oh, that's very
It was
funny.
great. I loved him
That must
so
have been
much.
meaningful to you and to the family and all that
my
stuff to sing with
God.
Don Williams and all that.
It was like singing with Santa Claus.
Man, oh
You
man.
know?
And you sang with Glen too. You sang Wichita Lineman with him.
I did,
I remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah. He I got to sing, play with him a little bit, yeah.
It is a strange turn here, but I was totally taken aback by the last track on the record, which I think is also sort of family based, but in a sort of different way. Can we just take a listen to it?
Sure.
Yeah.
And never sure what made him so mad at the world, mad at me. I was just a kid. I won't do the same. And it's not too late. It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late to break the chain.
Keith Urban and Break the Chain from his new album High. I got a bunch of questions about this song, but I want to open it up to you first. Tell me a little bit about this song.
Tell me your question.
No. Well, question number 1, what's the song about?
It's about coming from it. For me personally, metaphorically, it's about not carrying on all the same stuff we grow up with. Habits, destructive habits particularly. Because whatever family we come from, we have a certain way of behaving to survive in that family and thrive in that family and whatever. And so we come out of a family and go, okay, we either keep doing the same stuff or we break the chain and do things different. And I come from a family where my dad was alcoholic. And I just went out into the world with this same behavioral patterns as my dad. And it was destructive. And, you know, I kept sort of saying, well, what do you expect? Look at where I come from. It's not even my fault. It's not my fault. And then I, you know, after several rehabs and a lot of work, you know, came to the realization, well, it's not my fault that I'm alcoholic too. I'm just born with that, but it's my responsibility.
Oh yeah, it's not my fault, which it's not.
No,
but it's not. But it's my responsibility.
Yeah, to either keep doing the same shit over and over and blaming everyone else, or break the chain, try and do something different.
How do you figure that out? How do you get to that? How do you get to that realization? Because I know, listen, I got family members, I got buddies of mine. You know, I'm wondering when that realization comes, and what happened. Like, how did that realization actually come to you? That I need, like, hey, this is happening. I can put a wedge in this right now. If you want to talk about it, buddy.
Yeah. And again, the song is not it never talks about alcoholism or anything like that, because other people have different things. Some people come from abusive houses, loveless fathers, or just abandonment, or whatever,
anger,
everything, you name it. You know, we come from something, and we go out into the world and we go, well, you know, don't blame me, look at where I come from. And I'm like, you can only do that up to some point, and then you got to take the reins and go, I get it. Your dad was an asshole. His dad was probably an asshole. So that's why your dad was. And you keep following the chain all the way. And actually, if you start to look to your grandparents, you start to have empathy for your own parents, because you're like, oh my God, he actually did a pretty good job based on their complete dysfunctionality. And so at some point, it's like, okay, I just want to do something different. And my dad would probably want me to do something different.
He wanted you to do something different.
Can you break this chain?
Yeah.
I couldn't. I tried. Yeah. Maybe you can do it. You give it a shot.
Yeah.
So
God love you, man. Because thanks for talking about it. God love you. Because I think that's I think that's one of the hardest things to do.
It's the hardest because it's our identity.
Yeah.
My identity is wrapped up in being a certain way and being a certain person. But I have to say, it's causing a crap life for me. I can't live the life I want to live if I keep seeing myself as this person. I got to dismantle this, and that's terrifying because I don't know what I become. If I'm not this guy, who the hell do I become?
Is that like, I wonder if that's an Australian thing. Because I know from being from Newfoundland, like we're known as like the big, serious, heavy drinkers.
Sure, Australia.
Hell
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've toured and partied around, And I remember but I remember going home now and feeling like I don't really want to drink this much, But like it's almost, you have to. It's part of your cultural identity. Right. You absolutely have to do this, It's what you are deciding to do.
And I got nothing against drinking, which is why I almost never talk about sobriety because I want my audience to do whatever the hell they want.
And it's a great drinking record you made, to be fair. Like it really is. It's a good drinking record to be made.
Look, I'm allergic to it. Yeah. That's the only difference. If I wasn't allergic to it, I'd be drinking.
Fair enough.
But, I break out in cuffs.
Yeah. Last thing on that is that I tell you what it made me think about is because I've been really enjoying reading about you and getting ready for this conversation, is that it made me think about that legacy is not one thing or another, because on one side with your family, you have this, you get inherited this gene and this chain that you have to break. And then on the other side, you get country music and American music and this thing that gave you a life and gave you success and gave you a legacy is not either good or bad. It has good and bad parts in them. Yeah.
Further in that song, it says, so I've taken the best and discarded the rest and I'm starting again. Letting who I was go. Got my feet on the road and I'm leaning into the light.
That's a great song.
Thank you.
Hard to write that personally?
It was a shock because it came out so fast. And I had no intention of writing anything like that. That song wrote itself, literally.
Where were you?
I was in Nashville, and there was a guy called Mark Siblier, who's a really great musician, and a good friend of mine called Troy Tomlinson, who's a great publisher, said, hey, you should go and write with Troy, see what happens, with Mark, see what happens. And I just showed up to his house, and never met him, never heard of him. And I walked into his little studio, and he had this acoustic guitar that looked like it had rubber strings or something. It was kind of weird. And I was like, what is this thing? And I pick it up. And the opening riff of that song was what I played.
Is that thing where there's like a sponge underneath the bridge?
It's actually a rubber bridge. The strings weren't rubber; they were just flat wound. Yeah. But it's a rubber bridge,
and it has that really like almost fully deadened,
completely
it's very
deadened.
Very cool sound.
Yeah, that's the guitar on the record.
The one you did on the demo?
Yeah.
So hold on. So you're sitting there singing the demo, and then
I pick up his guitar and I play this lick that I've never played before. It just felt like, well, that sounds nice on this guitar, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And while I'm doing that, I've literally said nothing to this guy except, hi, oh, what's that guitar? And as I'm playing the intro, he's got a mic and he's micing it up and he's hit record and that's what you do. He's smart, So he's like, don't talk about it. Something's happening. Hit red.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's not get in the way of it.
Don't get in the way of it.
Yeah.
And that whole song was just not getting in the way of it. And then I started writing words, and man, I just kept writing and writing and writing. And I get to the bit about, my dad. And I was sitting on this stranger's couch with a yellow legal pad, and I just start bawling my eyes out, literally weeping, like uncontrollably. And he looks over at me and he goes, must be true. And then went back to work on the track.
He doesn't say like, are you all
Nothing,
right?
Which was perfect. It was so perfect. Because if he'd been like, oh, here's some tissue, it would have wrecked everything. It was so right what he did. It was amazing.
It must be true.
No, it must be true. And then he just went back to work.
Wow.
And just let it go. And so it allowed me to stay in the same space and just finish it out.
I tell you what I don't understand about any of this is that you sound like a songwriter to me. And why do I keep reading these things about like when you get in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame and you keep on saying like I don't feel like I belong there, and the way you talk about yourself as a songwriter is very interesting to me.
It's rare for me to write like that.
Yeah. You did get in the Hall of Fame, though, Keith. You did.
yeah. And I'm very, very, very grateful.
You've
for
had
that.
a lot of number one hits that you wrote.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. No. I trust me. But I'm a great admirer of the Leonard Cohens, the songwriters, the masters. So I'm always in there, just a massive admirer of Canada, man. Talk about songwriters up here.
I mean, really.
Good God.
Bryan Adams.
The titans from Joni to Neil to Leonard, you name it. It's insane up here.
It's wild. So hold on. So how come you don't when you got to Nashville, was like Harlan Howard and those guys around? And I guess Willie was there. And
I never saw Willie
Don
until...
Schlitz, the guy who wrote The Gambler. He's kicking around. I think he's still around.
He is.
Yeah. Were these real A-game...
Yeah.
He wrote I Love You Forever and Ever, Amen, Randy Travis too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you didn't feel like that wasn't the world you were coming into? You weren't coming in as a songwriter?
No, because I when I moved to Nashville and I was going and writing songs every day with these guys, it would be a windowless room, 2 acoustic guitars and 2 yellow legal pads. And I was just like, just kill me now. I can't do this. It's not inspiring.
Because you're a performer.
And I operate from atmosphere, and I've always written from the music out. I mean, every one of those songs that I've had a number one on that I wrote, every one of them started with music. Not one of them started with a lyric. So
you start with a melody, and you're starting with
a little drum loop, a guitar hook, a riff, a melody, and then the words come. I mean, even Break the Chain started with a guitar riff. So, the music is trying to tell a story.
So how'd you get there? How did you get comfortable in those rooms with the yellow legal pad?
I didn't. I didn't. I just...
You know what I'm asking? It did happen. You did end up writing big hit songs.
Yeah. I think I just started to take more ownership of the environment I needed to be in to create.
Right.
I like writing a drum machines and maybe a 6-string banjo or a bass guitar. I like having a lot of stuff around to kind of just play in the sandbox, and see what inspires something today. But the fact that it should always be an acoustic and it should always be blah, 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 I'm just like, it's boring as hell to me. And for me, I think a lot of those songs weren't really great. A lot of those the songs that those guys were writing, a lot of them were really good poetry and okay songs. Like the melodies always seemed like sacrificed at the expense of an amazing lyric. And I kind of liked both. If you could, why can't we have both?
Yeah, right.
Why can't you have a great melody and a great lyric?
Yeah, which is how Lyman is.
Totally.
Yeah,
all the Jimmy Webb stuff is that.
Yeah, it's the best melodies you've ever heard, and then the most piercing.
Neil Young. I mean, good Lord.
So hold on, I have another question about when you came to Nashville for the first time, because again, I'm reading a lot, and I think understandably people who write about you don't realize that there are a lot of similarities between Australia and Nashville, right? They're people act as if it's completely different, but it's not. The worlds are very similar. And you grew up surrounded by American culture, watching American TV, listening to American music. So when you got there, you kind of knew, you had an idea of what to expect.
Yeah.
Other than people will tell you you're good when you're not, what was the biggest thing you had to get used to, or the biggest culture shock when it came to coming to Nashville from Australia?
That it was strange for everybody that I was there but me. It felt so natural for me to be there. Like it made perfect sense. But I see now, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I must have looked really odd.
As an Australian?
Just everything. My accent, the way I dressed, my long hair, the way I play on stage, the way I play guitar. Every single thing that I was doing was odd in that town, And unfortunately, I think if I'd moved from Oklahoma and was doing that, I might be seen as someone that has a new take on things. But because I was Australian, it was immediately assumed that I was ignorant on how things were done. Originality was mistaken for ignorance.
I understand.
Yeah.
If you had came from, I'm going to say it back to make sure I get it. If you had come from Georgia and they'd be like, oh, well, here's this fella playing Georgia music here in Nashville. Or think about all the Texans that moved there.
Sure.
Guy Clark moves there.
Yeah.
I mean, George Strait, he's Texan, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
George Strait comes over there, Miranda, and they're bringing that Miranda Lambert. They bring that honky-tonk Texas thing to Nashville, and everyone goes, well, they're bringing it to Nashville. Yeah. But for you were this pretender because you were from Australia,
Well, I had this thing I was trying to put together, which was a fusion of things.
Yeah.
I was really inspired because I grew up playing country music and top 40.
Yeah.
So already that was the blend.
Yeah.
And then when I hit my teens, I played in a heavy metal band for a little minute.
You got fired from a heavy metal band. Is this true?
Yeah.
For playing country music?
Yeah.
What's that story?
Yeah. Joined this band called Fractured Mirror.
Yeah.
Great
name.
It's already going to go pear-shaped. And the lead singer was playing guitar, but he just wanted to be the sort of frontman lead singer. He didn't want to play guitar.
Yeah.
So they brought me into the band as the guitar player.
Yeah.
He let me use this big Marshall stack. So I was like, I'm in heaven. I don't have a Marshall stack. This is fantastic. A big amp, the whole thing. So I got my Strat, got my big Marshall stack. I got my leather jacket on. We're doing like Judas Priest, White Snake, Scorpions, a lot of English heavy metal, like real legit.
And you're shredding.
Heavy metal. Yeah. So I'm, that's what I'm into. Well, that's what I'm playing, but I just discovered Ricky Skaggs at the exact same time.
We were talking about Ricky before you came in.
Yeah. And I was obsessed with Ray Flack and Albert Lee and these chicken picking guys. So I was like, chicken picking? I said, what is this? I'm going to learn that. Well, I'm doing that through this big Marshall stack. So I'm into this music. I'm on stage. We're doing some heavy metal song. They throw me a solo. I rip this chicken picking solo through this Marshall stack. And to this day, I vividly remember the lead singer's face looking around at me with the whole like, what the hell is that shit? And I was like, sorry, and that was it. They fired me. So
they fired you?
Yeah, but that was like a good moment of like, I have a bit of a musical identity crisis right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to chicken pick through a Marshall stack. What's going on? Which way do I go? And then fast forward up to John Mellencamp, and I went to see him in concert. And I remember it's 1988. I walk out on stage. Oh, he walks out on stage.
Yeah.
I'm in the freaking audience,
Yeah.
And he's got this rock rhythm section. He's got Marshall amps, electric guitar, but he's got fiddle and he's got accordion. And I'm like, what is this? And then he's singing rural lyrics about farms and different things.
Yeah.
But he's singing it with a rock shred. And I'm like, this is the most unique fusion I've ever seen. It's like, and it was just a light went off. And the light basically said, take all the things you love and make your own soup. Don't think about labeling it, because that's what John's just done. I didn't walk out of there thinking, I'm going to do what John Mellencamp did.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the approach that he took. I'm going to do that and find all the things I love.
So then when you get to Nashville, you're, like you were saying, like, I had this other thing going, which was a mix of the rock that I had grown up playing and all the cover bands I had played in with the country music that I loved.
Totally.
And this might not, that's, I want to make sure I sound complimentary to everybody else. That's the Keith Urban sound to me is a big Nashville sound right now. And it's only getting to know your music that I learned that it wasn't when you did it. Like, I feel like Keith Urban is your sound of like rock mixed with country music is sort of the sound of Nashville a lot right now. I mean, it's changing a little bit, but I'm learning that it was rare when you did it, when you showed up and started putting that together, Like what ended up becoming the sound of Nashville was, it wasn't at the time when you started doing it.
No, it's interesting that even a lot of the cats I was using in the studio, Justin Ebank on engineering, Chris McHugh on drums, Jimmy Lee Slice on bass, Tom Vukovac on guitar, all these session cats, the first time they'd really played on those things was on my records. But it was really, really hard because, as I said, it wasn't seen as like, oh, this is an interesting take on country music. It was just, this poor guy has no clue what country is. So I had to stop all of that and kind of start from the ground up again to go, all right, I'll show you how I built this. Yeah. Incrementally. And so I did the songwriters' nights and I did, picking sessions with people, and slowly but surely people went, oh, I see he knows. Oh, he knows the foundation. Yeah. He's just built. It's evolved to this place. You needed to take us back to the beginning of the evolution because you just showed up with it evolved, and we're confused.
Right. So because then the ranch thing happens, but then this song happens. Can we play the big hit?
And I'm letting go of all my lonely yesterdays. I've forgiven myself for the mistakes I've made. Now there's just one thing, the only thing I wanna do.
you what I love about that song is that the this is wonky and they'll cut this out, but like the rhythm is so fast and the melody's so slow. Like the rhythm's going shikadika, hookadika, shikadika, hookadika, and the melody's dum 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 dum. It's so easy. It's so I love that song.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the melody and rhythm of that song. I really do.
Thank you. It's funny that hearing that now, I haven't heard that song in a long time. Even though we play it, hearing the recording of it.
What do you hear?
It seems so tame, you know, based on where things are at.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, it's a long time ago. But at the time, it was so sort of groundbreaking.
Does that so did that song? I guess what I was building to. Does that song make you go when that song becomes like the biggest hit in the entire world? Does it go like, oh no, I was right? Like this, the idea that I had for this kind of music, this fusion of this music, look, it did it.
It was more like, oh, finally, even internally, I've been able to bring all these elements together with the right people. It took Dan Huff, meeting him. It took those session players. It took Justin Niebank. It took meeting all the right people to help me bring this vision together because I couldn't do it on my own, obviously.
Right. So what happens to you when you have a hit that big? How does your life change when you get a hit that big?
For me, it didn't feel like anything other than, good, now I've got a starting point. You know, and I'd already been in town 10 years.
Oh, 10 years.
Yeah, I moved to Nashville in 92. And it was like 2001, 2002 when that song came out.
So you weren't like, all right, yeah, because that was everybody's introduction. So 10 years in, everyone finds out about Keith Urban.
Yeah, it's
I can
crazy.
start now.
But it felt like sort of, okay, now I've got a sense of how to write these songs and how to record them. It's coming together, you know, but it took so long.
It was worth it. I got sort of a deeper question on the songs before we go. So I noticed that in that song is very much about like the kind of person that I want to be. And when I was reading about it, it seems like you were, I'm not wrong about that. You were writing that song about the kind of person you wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in a bad way personally.
Okay.
You know, struggling a lot. And I was in a relationship that was I wasn't in a good way. So, and I wanted to, I thought at the time my girlfriend seems to really love me. I wish I could love myself the way she seems to. So the song was actually, I want to love someone like you do. I want to love me like you do. Oh. That was what that song was about, which is so weird because I remember writing it, doing a demo, playing it for my girlfriend and not realizing what I'm doing playing this song for her.
Right.
She hears it as a love song.
She's saying, thank you so much.
And it finished, and she just looks at me, she goes, you're a fucking hypocrite. And then walked out of the room.
Oh, no, what? She said, what do you mean? Why?
Oh, well, because it sounded like, on the surface, it just sounded like this beautiful love song.
Yeah, I want to love somebody like you.
Yeah, and she's like, you don't want to love anyone, you're just an asshole.
Right.
And she wasn't wrong.
But it was about how you wanted to love yourself like other people loved you.
Yeah, it was the guy
Jesus,
I wished I could. It wasn't the guy I was. It was the guy I wished I could be.
So here's the question I have, and this goes to this record as well, is that I have, and there's probably some exceptions that I missed, and the Keith Urban fandom will correct me. But over the course of your career, a lot of the songs are not, I'm so bad, this is bad, there's a tear in my beer. It's, I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to be a better version of myself. This keeps on coming up in your songs.
I'd even go further, and now with the ability to look back at a lot of these songs, and even the ones I still write, like Straight Line, I'm like, why do I gravitate towards these kinds of songs? I must look like the happiest guy in the world. Like the sun is always shining in my world, the blue skies, the top's down, everything's good, and it's BS. It's not. It was never like that. And I'm like, why did I write so many happy songs?
Yeah.
And I came to the realization that they're probably more whistling in the dark songs.
Whistling in the dark songs?
Yeah, like to keep my own self feeling optimistic, I would write optimistic songs. I wasn't optimistic. I wasn't happy, joyous, and excited. I wanted to be that, so I would write songs to make me feel like that. So it's like it's the kid walking through the cemetery on a dark, cold night and is terrified, and so it just starts whistling as if everything's okay when it's not okay. That would be the best way for me to describe all of my up-tempo positive songs. They're songs that keep me from going down.
Even now?
Yeah. Even now, because I can get, insecure or a bit too serious or a bit too full of doubt and questioning and all this stuff. And I'm like, I just want to have a good time right about now. So I write a song like that.
It must be so meaningful then when you do the show and you look out and then there's people singing those. I mean, this is trite, but like people singing those songs back to you on their night off.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean? You know?
It's amazing, yeah. I mean, these songs are all flotation devices is what they are. They're to keep us from drowning. Me too. You know, I look at the audience and they go, man, that song makes me feel so good. I'm like, me too.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good too. So I'm glad we get to do this together.
Man, I love talking to you. I love this record.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan, and thanks for making the time for us
My
today.
pleasure. Always great to talk to you.
Always a joy to talk to you
Thanks,
as well.
Tom.